Laurence, thank you for joining me today to talk about your important work in growing Asian philanthropy through greater collaboration and learning. I also look forward to hearing more about the work that you are doing to engage Asian philanthropists in addressing climate change. Laurence Lien is a co-founder and founding CEO of the Asian Philanthropy Circle based in Singapore. Laurence is also the chairman of the Lien Foundation, a family foundation established in 1980, I believe, that's highly regarded for its forward-thinking approach in the fields of education, elder care, and the environment. He also serves as the chairman of Lien Aid, the foundation's humanitarian arm. Laurence was the CEO of the National Volunteer and Philanthropy Center in Singapore until 2014. In 2008, he founded the Community Foundation of Singapore and was its chairman until 2019. He is a board member of the Lien Center for Social Innovation at the Singapore Management University, SMU. Prior to his work in the nonprofit sector, Laurence served in the Singapore Administrative Service, which forms the top echelon of public service leaders in Singapore. He was also a member of parliament in Singapore from 2012 to 2014. Laurence holds degrees from Oxford University, National University of Singapore, and Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. In 2010, Laurence was awarded the Eisenhower Fellowship. Laurence, you've been the CEO of the Asian Philanthropy Circle since 2016, I believe. When you co-founded this network, what were you hoping to achieve, and what have you learned along the way?
Well, thanks, Badr, for that generous introduction. When we first started, it was 2015, APC, Asia Philanthropy Circle for short. We wanted philanthropists around the region to have a safe place to come together to exchange and collaborate. And the reason we wanted to do this is because we felt that too many people were reinventing the wheel, making the same mistake, that philanthropy was actually quite a lonely journey, and there were so many networks for business people to talk about business. Why not something for philanthropists that is targeted at principles? So fast forward to 2024, 9 years on, I think we have achieved quite a bit. We have more than 60 families from around 12 different markets. We have been elevating philanthropic practice among our members. And there's nothing like a network where people are able to share their stories, to inspire one another. But I think more than that is being able to build a community and to build relationships of trust. Because on that foundation of trust, we can catalyze collaborative impact. Because collaboration is not an easy thing. People talk a lot about it, but to really collaborate, you really need to see yourself working, with the people week in, week out, because things, if you are doing big scale things, innovative things are never linear. They never go exactly the way that you want them to go. And you need that relationship of trust. And we have got that. We've created new NGOs, new impact pathways, whether it's in climate or it's in education, healthcare, dealing with vulnerable communities. And I think what is important is that we are inspiring change at scale. Is that when you work in a collective, you can leverage the power of the collective. You can go to forums with one voice. So we attended, 11 of us from APC went to COP28, which you kindly hosted many of those events, between business and philanthropy. And it's because of the platform we're able to, one, bring so many there, but also increase the voice of Asian philanthropists in global fora and forge global partnerships. So we're very happy with where we are, but work is not done. We are still, whatever achievements, we are only at the starting point. There's so much more to do, whether it's collaboration, it's bringing more people in, it's deepening the work. There's SDGs, unfortunately. particularly during COVID, have not some have even gone backwards. We have to redouble, triple our efforts.
Indeed, no, indeed. Asia, of course, represents some of the highest growth economies in the world. How do you see philanthropy changing as wealth grows in Asia? And what do you think some of the key drivers are for more strategic philanthropy in the region and from the region?
Yeah. So there's a lot of interest in philanthropy now, and I believe we are at an inflection point. People are saying the right things, but I don't think they are doing the right things yet. The doing is lagging the talking, right? But the good thing is that people want to do it. And what is driving this? I think the key drivers are the first generation wealth creators are aging, and they say, what is beyond just making more money? And philanthropy is always going to be part of the equation. Of course, these wealth creators are also having liquidity events, and they want the next generation to have purpose and meaning, and the next generation are indeed growing up. But I think at the end, we were seeing a lot more interest in philanthropy among wealthy families as this transition of wealth is happening. But there is also a bifurcation, I feel, that the first generation wealth creators are much more traditional in the charity giving. The next generation are much more interested in much more trendy programs like impact investments, using AI for philanthropy, and so on. But there's actually a lot of the boring middle work, the sort of public goods work that you and I do, that needs a lot more investments, and we really hope that there are more who will help build up the ecosystem, because in many of the countries that we are in, the philanthropy ecosystem, the nonprofit ecosystem is very underdeveloped. And I would say that Asia itself, I mean, I talk a lot about Asian philanthropy, not because we want to compete with the West for a better model. It's just that the context of Asia is different. We are practically different, and the way we do things procedurally are different. Philosophically, we are different as well in terms of values. But I mean, I think family, religion, government, they all, big elephants in the room. So the way that we evolve will naturally be different, and it's already different. I think we're a bit more community-based, community-driven, more personally engaged, more, and there's concept of dana, in whether it's Buddhism or even in Hinduism, that is about quiet giving, right? With no strings attached. And I think that sort of philosophy is always driving philanthropy towards a little bit of a different direction from the West. And of course, we have to work with government, that's in a constructive way, because governments is, as I mentioned, big elephant in the room.
Indeed. No, absolutely. What do you think is still missing, if anything, in the region's philanthropic infrastructure? Are there major intra-regional differences? And how has Singapore positioned itself as a hub for philanthropy in the region?
Yeah, of course, there's a danger when we talk about Asia to overgeneralize, because Asia is such a diverse region, right? But I'll still do it and then come back to say how some countries are different, like Singapore. I mentioned that NGO sector is underdeveloped. Then there are issues of accountability, transparency, governance in a lot of countries. Obviously, closely tied to that is a lack of capacity, lack of talent. And so we need to do a lot more work to support organizations, in their growth. Government regulation is kind of lags behind. It needs to be much more progressive, forward-thinking, regulating the sector, but also incentivizing philanthropy. In many countries, philanthropy can be hard because of the government obstacles that, for example, you can be taxed on donations, to charities. So, I mean, I think all this has made philanthropy a little too slow and too safe. I think what we need is more enlightened sort of governments, policies, We need more Asian role models. We need to hold each other more accountable, and we need more investments in public goods at scale and build up the ecosystem. Now, Singapore is a little different. I think Singapore has been a major source of wealth. We are a wealth hub. And I think what has been different in the last couple of years is that apart from just being an asset management, fund management hub, we have helped set up a lot of family offices, and a lot of families have moved to Singapore in the last couple of years. And with that, these families want to make all decisions around wealth from Singapore, which includes philanthropy. So there is the demand for philanthropy services have risen. Singapore is also a natural meeting pot, a melting pot of a meeting point for East and West. It's a flow of ideas. It's an innovation hub. And major players like Temasek have come in, to also use their convening power to bring the major players. So all that has created a lot of excitement, and certainly the government has, sensing this, has provided support to build Singapore up to be a philanthropy sector. So there are more, there's intention, there are plans. And of course, like Temasek said, they've raised nearly more than 700 million US in pledges for the Philanthropy Asia Alliance. So, but I think we have to execute and make it work. Yeah.
You worked with the Gates Foundation, I think, recently to launch a new foundation for donors, the Asian Community Foundation. What do you hope to achieve with this new foundation? And could you also maybe tell me a little bit about your philosophy for collaboration between entities and foundations within Asia, but also across border? How does the collaboration frameworks work in Asia, and how do you hope it'll develop and evolve in the months and years ahead?
Sure. Well, leveraging on Singapore becoming this philanthropy hub, and sensing that a lot of these families want philanthropy services, we started Asia Community Foundation to make purposeful giving easy, right? Because it's not so easy to set up your own foundation, find the right people to run it, and know exactly what to do. And giving in Asia across borders, particularly from Singapore, it's not the easiest, because the accountability transparency is not there. So if we don't do this, what's going to happen? Philanthropy is not a forcing function. It's not something that is so high on the priority that people will do no matter what. If it's too difficult, they would just leave money on the table and things will not get done. And we don't want that. So this is why we've come in and created a platform called Asia Community Foundation. And it's essentially like a multi-family office for philanthropy. It's a shared infrastructure, and Gates Foundation has been a great partner to start this. So we'll provide, solutions from philanthropy advisory to grants advisory, grants management, pooled funds. And what we're doing here, you talk about collaboration and community. We leverage the community. We leverage the community of APC members, not just APC members, of experienced givers, because where do we get the best ideas in terms of the best grantees? It's from people who have been doing it for a long time and who have got all these relationships. So we use these relationships and we crowd in funding from those who are starting out. I mean, it's not different from investments. When you want to invest in a company, you find who is the anchor investor, who has been working with this company, investing in this company for a long time, right? But the collaboration is linking these people up, connecting the experience and the less experience, sharing success, and sharing that back end sort of infrastructure. So that's our intent of Asia Community Foundation. We only launched at the end, in September last year, so it's still early days. And of course, I mean, the DNA is collaboration. Here is collaborating with entities that are within the Singapore ecosystem, but we are always collaborating outside. I mean, our members for APC are around the world. We want to, there's several modes of collaboration. One, I mean, is to flow funds to the right, I mean, across borders to support and scale initiatives that are already working. Another is to replicate successful models. We know, if you know what works, let's help to do that. And I guess the third is to really build up a coalition of players, because some of the problems that we're trying to solve need to be solved at a global level. And that's pertaining to big issues like climate change, which I'm sure which you are very passionate about. It needs players around the region. I think when we were at COP, we talk about adaptation, right? In the as a focus, because that has not been at all, particularly in Southeast Asia. And we're trying to get, for example, a lot of our APC members as well as other funders around common to align our work so that we can really move the needle in each of these areas.
Very well said. The Asian Philanthropy Circle, I think, also created a climate collective in 2022 to enable its members to engage more deeply in climate action across Asia. The Climate Collective, I think, also provides a space for finding solutions to this common threat. What are some of its achievements to date, and how do you see this collective evolving in the coming years?
So actually, the collective has come to its natural end in December 2022, because we always intended it to have a 2-year runway, and was really targeted at our APC members who are newer to climate philanthropy. We have got quite a few who are really deep into it, and so that's not targeted at them. So it's really building that trusted community of like-minded individuals to learn together, to connect and to collaborate on climate change in Southeast Asia. And we've done that, and it was good to see. It was primarily a learning platform, but the members of the collective were co-funding each other's programs. Like we have got a climate smart rice project in Vietnam. Rice production in Vietnam accounts for 1/6 of the greenhouse gas emissions in that one country. It's just amazing, right? So tackling that was important. Some of our members came together to start a technical assistance facility for natural capital solutions and so on. So it's just been very positive. But we wanted to, I mean, we decided that we wanted to mainstream this work. So no, you don't need a collective anymore, because we want a wider membership to look at climate and to look at intersections between climate and that work. I mean, everybody needs to have a program in climate, because it is a horizontal. It's no longer a vertical on its own, right? And our members of the collective have come together to really work at the next level, which is working in partnership with other funders outside the circle and other stakeholders. So one project, for example, we are working on is Project Drawdown for Asia. So creating a roadmap for philanthropists and other decision makers towards strategic action, particularly in areas of greater concern in Asia, like food and agri and land use and oceans.
A final question, if I may, on whether you believe that philanthropy can play a catalyzing role in leveraging more public and business capital for climate and mitigation and adaptation strategies across Asia, but also elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely believe in the role of philanthropy playing this complementary role and utilizing our strengths in having entrepreneurial abilities, long-term horizon, and flexibility, without being accountable to shareholders and voters, right? So in terms of, I guess, leveraging public capital, I go back to all the unsexy work that philanthropy can play, right? It's policy advocacy to help decision makers make better decisions and to use the budgets better, technical capacity building, particularly to help subnational officials in implementing plans, because quite often national level officials make all these commitments and pledges, but subnational officials have no idea how to implement them. I think we need research to amplify what works and so on. For private capital, I think there still needs a lot more research and innovation, particularly where the ROI for commercial returns is not attractive. So the early stage work, we need to spend more effort to incubate and accelerate startups, because they need a lot of capacity to grow. We need concessionary capital to bridge that valley of death for a lot of these startups, who have the initial proof of concept, but it takes time for them to be commercially viable. And already some of our members, have been doing this at APC. One example is a biogas to energy company in Indonesia that started with the philanthropy capital that was led by an APC member. And at the end of 2022, they were raising more than $3 million in pre-Series A funding, because the proof of concept was completed, right? So I mean, we need a lot more of such projects, and I think the opportunities will be there. There's too much waiting for the commercial returns, in downstream. I think philanthropy capital needs to be. There's a lot of work upstream before all the downstream opportunities can be unlocked.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, dear Laurence, for taking the time to speak with me. I've greatly enjoyed this conversation, and I appreciate your optimism on the endless possibilities, really, that we have for growing strategic and effective philanthropy across Asia. I look forward to seeing you soon in Singapore as well as in the UAE. Thank you again, dear Laurence.
Thanks a lot, Badr, and really enjoyed the conversation.